Hello and welcome to the second roundup of the free-ish PC games that are available this week. I say this week, but we are still playing catch up a little bit thanks to a hospital appointment, so I'm not going to get to the latest games on Prime Gaming just yet. As always, I'll start with the Epic Game Store games that are being given away for free, because when this comes out on Wednesday you'll have a day to get them. And then I'll pick up with all the Amazon games. Also, if you do end up enjoying this video, please do give it a like, it really helps a lot. Okay, let's get on with it. First off from the Epic Game Store is Road Redemption, a racing, fighting, shooting, roguelite game available until the 14th of August. You take on the role of a bike gang member, hunting down an assassin through rival biker gang territories. You get a choice of bike, and more of that can be unlocked through the meta progression system, which gets unlocked as you gain experience. You can also choose your driver. Each driver has different stats, and each bike has different stats. Though I'm not sure I saw a huge amount of difference in the bikes during my playthrough. Your choice of rider is a bit more impactful on your stats during your actual gameplay. Each run has you ride through 3 territories, taking on tons of rival gang members. They're in bikes, they're in trucks, and there's general cars that just get caught up in the fight. There are multiple stages in each of these territories, and those can be time trials, straightforward first to the post, or have a required kill count. The game looks decent. It's not incredible, but it's decent. And there's metal tracks blasting away in the background, which fit the mood of the game really well, even if they are a little bit generic sounding. The game sits at a 69 on OpenCritic, but only 29% of critics recommend it, which is kind of odd. You'd think that would be higher. The repetitiveness and the need to repeat because of the roguelike elements are the main issues that critics bring up. Steam reviews give it a very positive rating. In general, it's regarded as a flawed successor to a beloved game. People generally enjoy the moment-to-moment gameplay, but say that it gets stale quicker than people would like. I played this for 5 or 6 hours, long enough to complete a run and progress along the skill tree a fair way, which took ages because I suck at driving games in general. I found the controls a little bit awkward. You juggle between different weapons on the D-pad because each enemy has specific weaknesses, and that was fine until I got multiple weapons on each D-pad direction, and I ended up choosing the wrong weapons quite often, which is a problem when you really need a specific weapon. Some of those weapons are guns which you fire with the right bumper, and because the acceleration is on the right trigger, I ended up kind of slowing down when I was firing. Definitely a me problem, but it just added to the awkwardness of the controls for me. I enjoyed the game because it's fun to scythe your way through a track full of bikers, just knocking them out or shooting them or whatever. And there is a just one more play feeling to it, but it didn't last that long. It started to feel a bit too repetitive to me, which is obviously a complaint other people had. And the fact that there was almost nothing that I really cared about in the progression tree made it not worth me carrying on. I think this game will give most people a few hours of fun gameplay, so there's no reason not to grab it while it's free. 112 Operator is the other game this week from the Epic Game Store, also leaving on the 14th of August. This is an emergency operator simulator where you're in charge of responding to emergencies across a progressively larger portion of a city. You can choose from ones across Europe. You're responsible for hiring and equipping teams of police, firefighters and ambulance crews, and then sending them out into the field, telling them exactly where to go. Each crew member has their own stats, one for the job they do, i.e. police work if they're a copper, and also one for driving the vehicles that they use. Each crew can have different vehicles, so you need to keep in mind which one you're sending. There's no point sending a bicycle police team to arrest a couple of perps. They can't give people a ride on their handlebars, that's illegal. You gain reputation for each call you successfully deal with, and you lose it if you mess it up. The game has a 73 on OpenCritic and a 71 on Metacritic, and a very positive rating on Steam. It is, though, a bit of a mixed bag of opinions. Most people mention the repetitive nature of the incidents that occur, and there are some issues with the UI. I found that myself when multiple vehicles or multiple incidents are close to the same site on the map. It's really hard to select the one you want. These issues get worse as you get further into the game, according to most reviewers. Another general issue is that there's too much going on, too many incidents to deal with. On the positive sides of the reviews, people found that the telephone calls were really immersive, and I did too. And the gameplay loop is quite addictive. I only played for a couple of hours or so, and I went for the easy mode because I'm not too proud to learn. And even then, the game was occasionally more stressful than enjoyable. The number of incidents goes up the harder the difficulty level, as you'd expect, so I just don't think I'd enjoy the game on a higher difficulty at all. Talking to a guy on the phone, telling him to go search for his sister in a tower where he could smell gas, then hearing an explosion and having to send fire trucks and ambulances to deal with the fire. I felt bad, which might be very realistic, but you know what I'm not looking for when I'm playing a game? Feeling worse. Handling the less stressful calls and reports did provide a good gameplay loop. Gaining reputation points and adding to my rota was fun, but then all of that goes away if you have a really big issue during a session. I tell any simulator fan to give this one a try. I think there's enough here for a fun but stress-inducing experience, if that's what you look for in a game. And that's backed up by the majority of critics. It's just not for me. Moving on to Prime. As before, I am going by the ones that are leaving Prime Gaming the earliest. So first up, and leaving on the 20th of August, is Endless Space 2 Definitive Edition. You get this via the Amazon Games launcher, by the way. This is a galactic version of the Civilization style games, a turn-based empire building game that has you colonising star systems and encountering alien races. The definitive version here includes 9 DLCs, which is all of the paid ones that I could find. Plus, there are a few more free ones that you can download from within the game via contents updates. So this is a pretty complete Endless Space 2 experience from Amazon. The game styles itself as a strategic space opera, with it being set in a universe that was previously inhabited by a race called the Endless, who ended, so bad name. This has an 82% rating on OpenCritic, 80% critic and 78% user ratings on Metacritic, and is very positive on Steam. The positive reviews mention the complexity of the game systems, the beautiful graphics and soundtrack, and the writing involved in making the alien factions feel different, unique. On the downside, pretty much everyone talks about a really steep learning curve. There are a couple of negative reviews that felt the AI just wasn't really good enough to make the game challenging, and most of the negative reviews on Steam are due to bugs and crashes. Some reviews mention later DLCs fixing some of the issues that were mentioned. There are a few that have issues with specific game mechanics that they are mentioning aren't felt until like 100 hours into your playtime. I only played a few hours of Endless Space 2, a mere dip into the ocean that is the 4X genre. But I can say that I do agree with the steep learning curve. Not really unusual with these games though, to be fair. There are a lot of systems to learn. I definitely didn't get a grip of the politics, diplomacy or ship designing. And honestly, I don't know what to build at what point really, or what order to do the research in. But I was moving forward in the game while I kind of put off learning those things for a bit later. The tutorial did help to a degree, at least to introduce the concepts, but there's a big difference in knowing what things to click to do something and knowing how you do it well. Felt like a competent 4X game to me in the little time that I played it, which is backed up by the majority of reviews. If you like empire building games, I think you should take a look at this when it's free. Next up on Prime is Stray Gods Orpheus Edition. This is an interactive musical novel, which is free via the good old game store until the 27th of August. You play Grace, a singer in a band who gets thrown into the world of the Greek gods that are still alive in the modern day, and you're trying to solve a murder mystery to save your own life.
How is that possible?
Like most interactive novels, you're primarily speaking to other characters through dialogue choices, during mostly static screens. The scenes do have some animation, kind of. They switch between character drawings. They implement zooms and cuts, which is more than other interactive novels I've played, and does make it feel quite dynamic. What is outside the norm for interactive novels is the musical aspect. Many of your interactions will turn into full-blown songs as a dialogue between you and another character, and they will give you time-sensitive options to choose from in order to direct the song, and the song changes according to your choices. This version also gives you the Orpheus DLC to play through. You guide Grace's journey in the main game by choosing traits which give different dialogue options in your dealings with the gods, or the idols as they're called here. There are romance options with 4 characters in the game, and which ending you get depends on who you end up with. There's also a 5th, the no romance option. OpenCritic has this at a 76, Metacritic has it on a 75 and a 7.8 user score. It's also very positive on Steam, so it's a generally well-liked experience. The music mostly gets praised, especially the way it changes according to your decisions, though the lyrics regularly get slammed as being a bit basic. The depictions of the Greek gods as powerful but very flawed beings was generally appreciated, as was the voice acting. The storyline had a mixed response, with some people fully engaged and others finding it a little too predictable and not enough of a murder mystery. There were some sound mixing issues mentioned and some saving bugs that appear to have been fixed. The Orpheus DLC was also generally well received, though it is a much shorter experience, about an hour long, so people that paid for it weren't always happy. I have to own up to something here to make my opinion make sense. I really don't like musicals, like at all. I get annoyed by characters singing lines that I feel would have been clearer and more helpful to just speak. While I didn't like most of the music in Stray Gods because lyrically it's exactly what I don't like, I really enjoyed this interactive novel. I liked some of the vocal performances and some of the orchestration in a few songs, though to be fair, most of it is not at all memorable. However, the voice acting performances really brought the characters to life. The way the writers redefined the gods in the modern world was interesting to me, it's good world building. And I thought the narrative was engaging and the writing pretty funny. Though I do agree that the murder mystery was extremely predictable. I did have another issue with the writing. Every character has deep, really significant issues that they've been dealing with for centuries, but some of them get resolved very, very quickly, sometimes in the space of a single song, and that made the story feel really rushed. I did still care about what happened in the story, so if you like musicals and or interactive novels, I think there's a good chance you'll enjoy this. I will put in a little extra note about the Orpheus DLC. I didn't find the story very engaging, and there's a lot more musical, time-wise, than there is in Stray Gods. Liberté, or Liberty, is a unique mix of genres, and is available from Prime Gaming up until the 27th of August via the Epic Games Store. It's a top-down fighting game, a deck builder, and a roguelite. A rogue deck-like fight? Don't think that'll catch on. You build a deck of 40 cards, including skills and talents, which are a mix of attacks you can make in combat, buffs to things like melee or range damage, and utility options like hiding, healing or armour. You then venture into an alternate 18th century Paris, at the behest of a giant plant lady called Lady Bliss. As you start each run, you randomly draw some of your cards, and then you're into the fighting game, which is pretty similar to a game like Hades. Cards can be burnt, i.e. discarded, to build mana, which is then spent to put other cards into action. This means placing them into a specific slot in your action bar, and that's how you attempt to create a build for your character. Leveling up draws more cards. You can buy some at shop areas during a run as well, and there are cards you can find that will just draw more cards for you. There are factions in the city that you can gain favour with by completing one of their stages during a run, and the roguelite bit comes in with the ability to pick up blueprints for new cards that you can then create and add to your deck. The story of what the hell is happening with giant ladies turning up in 18th century France is uncovered as you progress during further runs. This game didn't fare too well with critics. It has a 52 on Metacritic and a 43% on OpenCritic, though there's a range of scores there between 3 and 8.5 out of 10, which is a very wide gap. It also has a mixed rating on Steam. Most people like the setting and the novelty of the mix of genres, but even in the positive reviews, the combat is called out as a little bland or a little boring. Some reviewers mention the lack of synergies between cards that you would expect to be in a deck builder as a downside. None of them really interact with each other. Another issue that was mentioned is the grindy nature of the meta progress, which some people felt took too long to motivate them to go on the number of runs required to progress. Those that gave the game a positive review were generally charmed by the setting, the voice acting and the story. It seems to work for some people and not for others at all. I've played for 3 hours and I'm starting to see the repetitive grind requirement just starting to creep in. I've picked up a dozen or more blueprints for cards during my runs, but I've only earned the currency to create 3, and that feels a bit slow to me when I really want to try out these new skills. I got used to the card mechanic, the way you have to discard cards to play cards, and I quite like it, and I'm finding the combat is fine. It's not as good as Hades, and it's not written as well as Hades is for those characters, but I'm still enjoying the gameplay, to a point. Each run is starting to feel just like every other run. That may well be because I am not that good at the game. I've only got to like the 3rd stage in a run, so I think I'm replaying the same stages over and over again. This one is really hard to say where it's going to land for people. The range of scores was just so wide, and people's opinions on Steam were so varied, that the only way you'll know if this game works for you is to try it. Just remember, it's not a deck builder like Slay the Spire. I do enjoy a fair few elements going on here. It's just not fully working for me. Okay, the final one from Prime Gaming and the video. I love finding wild friends. That's not an admission of what I do in my spare time. Those days are long behind me anyway. No, this is a hidden objects game, available from Prime Gaming via the Legacy Game Store until the 27th of August. This introduces a couple of new things in the genre. You get the standard scene, which in this case is a real-life scene of natural beauty, but you also get a second one that you can switch between. You also get a magnifying glass, which gives you an idea of how well hidden some of the objects are. You get the standard list of things to find, though as you find them, you build up a score multiplier that slowly runs down the longer you take to find the next object, and you end up with a score. You're then awarded a bronze, silver or gold star depending on that score. In addition, there are also those wild friend things to find from the title, which means 20 animals and 3 butterflies hiding out somewhere in the scene. You get 18 main hidden object levels, But interspersed through these are puzzles. They're generally simple ones like a jigsaw, spot the difference, or even a simple painting. But there is the occasional trickier one. There's no reviews for this, so I can only go by my own experience. Fortunately, I did play through the whole game because I was planning to release this as a separate video, but unfortunately, hospital appointment got in the way of that. There are a few extras in the collector's edition that I didn't get round to in my 5 hours of play, but I did finish those 18 levels and the puzzles that come along with them. I do find something compelling about these games, even though I recognise they're not actually that well made. This game had that compelling element. It's a pretty good hidden objects game, and there's a bit of difficulty here. I did regularly need to use the magnifying glass to find an object, scouring the screen with it. And I even resorted to the hint function a couple of times. That highlights the objects you need, or it skips a puzzle that you're having trouble with and shows you the solution to it. If you don't care about the stars, you can take your time and have a actually fairly relaxing experience. Solving simple puzzles, doing a jigsaw or two, finding a bunch of animals. I Love Finding Wild Friends is actually a fairly decent entry in the genre, and it's worth picking up if that's your jam. Okay, that's all for me for free PC game roundup number 2. I'll be back next week and hopefully we'll catch up a little bit more on the Prime Gaming games. If you like the video, please do like and consider subscribing. But that's it for me for this one. Thanks for watching and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.